Good morning, friends. Our first song today is entitled Make Us Channels of Thy Peace.
Lord Most High, our Heavenly Father, all our lives we dedicate to Thee. All our labors, all our joys and woes, all our pleasure, all our melody. Make us each a channel of Thy peace. When in darkness, guide us from above. Where there's sorrow, may we sow Thy joy. Where there's hatred, may we share Thy love. Lord Most High, our Heavenly Father, all our lives we dedicate to Thee. All our labors, all our joys and woes, all our pleasure, all our melody. Make us each a channel of Thy peace. When in darkness, guide us from above. Where there's sorrow, may we sow Thy joy. Where there's hatred, may we share Thy love.
This reading is from Rays of the One Light, Weekly Commentaries on the Bible and the Bhagavad Gita by Swami Ananda. Week 35, Who are True Christians? Truth is one and eternal. Realize oneness with it in your deathless self within. The following commentary is based on the teachings of Paramhansa Yogananda. Jesus Christ said in chapter 10 of the Gospel of St. John, "All that ever came before me are thieves and robbers, but the sheep did not hear them." Many Christians, not surprisingly, quote this saying in condemnation of other spiritual teachers, not only the Old Testament prophets, but also Buddha, Krishna, and others who lived before Jesus, as well as, by inference, any who came after him. Yet Jesus himself said in St. Matthew chapter 5, "Think not that I am come to destroy the law or the prophets. I am not come to destroy, but to fulfill." Nowhere do we find Jesus condemning or even gently criticizing other spiritual masters. His criticisms were reserved for worldly attitudes and for those hypocritical Pharisees who had allowed religion to become, for them, a pretense. Paramhansa Yogananda explained that the expression, "all that ever came before me," referred to those spiritual teachers who placed their egos and their self-importance ahead of the Christ consciousness, in the sense of drawing people's devotion to themselves and not offering it where it truly belongs, to God. Yogananda himself was very firm in this regard. For example, he never spoke of anyone as his disciple. Instead, he always insisted, "They are God's disciples. God is the guru, not I." Ego is a way station on the soul's journey toward enlightenment. The soul is first trapped in lower bodily forms. Slowly it evolves to the human level, at which point self-consciousness appears. Only in human form can self-consciousness transcend material form altogether, including the lower identity of ego consciousness, and discover the true divine self within. Self-consciousness manifested as ego is an incentive to deliberate self-development. Later in this process of development, however, the ego becomes an obstruction. Inevitably, new spiritual aspirants do not emerge effortlessly from the vortex of ego consciousness. Desire must be offered up resolutely and ever more wholeheartedly on the altar of infinity. It is a gradual process, and few even among those who seek to help others are free of ego. If, however, their motive in teaching is not to serve, but to be served, they deserve a severe reprimand as Jesus gave them. For the direction of development is no longer upward, but downward. In the name of giving up desires, they are creating new ones. As it says in the Bhagavad Gita in the 3rd chapter, "Desire obscures even the wisdom of the wise. The relentless foe it is, a flame never quenched." Intellect, mind, and senses, these combined are referred to as the seat of desire. Desire through them deludes and eclipses the discrimination of the embodied soul. O Arjuna, discipline your senses, and, having done so, work to destroy desire, annihilator of wisdom and of self-realization. Give God the credit for everything you do. See Him as the true doer. Thus, through Holy Scripture, God has spoken to mankind. Om, Om, Om.
My name is Surendra. I'm here with Lorna and our blessers, also Vajra and Pavani, and we're delighted to have you join us. Our affirmation this morning on inspiration and the reading we just heard, Who Are True Christians, are wonderful topics for deeper discussion. Swami Kriyananda did not just randomly put these two together. He saw a profound connection between the two, and I'll try to add to that connection, focusing mainly on the affirmation, on inspiration. And I'll begin with a personal story that took place over the course of a basketball season several years ago, and yet it remains one of the most influential and inspiring in my life. When I was 24 years old, I was working in the broadcast department of a large advertising agency in Los Angeles. And one of our big clients was Richfield Oil, which later merged with Atlantic Oil and became what is known today as ARCO. I wonder if many of you know that it's actually Atlantic Richfield Company. Richfield was the sponsor of a 30-minute live TV show on local station KTLA. It was a weekly interview program with the coach and some of the players of the UCLA basketball team. And they were just talking about their last game, showed a few film highlights, and we're looking ahead to the next one. Not exactly what you would call dramatic entertainment today. But this was no ordinary coach, and these were no ordinary players. Among them were the very best at that particular time, and some the best for all time, including a sophomore by the name of Lou Alcindor. My role in the telecast was virtually of no significance. I was there simply to make sure that our commercials were included, that Richfield's logo was visible when it needed to be, and so on. But I would not have missed these opportunities for anything, because I could tell from the first time that I met this man, this coach, that he was someone very special. His name was John Wooden. I barely knew him, but I have admired and studied him for 50 years. And I can gratefully say that his teachings and his ways have mentored me significantly throughout my life. Because of who he was and what he accomplished, John Wooden has rightly been called the greatest collegiate coach of all time. He set a collegiate record that will never be broken in what is arguably the most difficult sport in which to achieve that, because consistency is so important. And especially over the years and in the basketball playoffs, if you lose only once, you're out. Coach Wooden's teams at UCLA won 10 national championships over a span of only 12 years. But this was not what made him the greatest. It was who he was and what he taught. For John Wooden, basketball wasn't so much a game as a metaphor for life. And he was not so much a basketball coach as a life coach, an educator, and above all, a builder of mental, moral, and spiritual character. What he sought to instill in his players is what our masters have sought to instill in us: the true meaning of success and how to achieve it. Had he ever heard of Paramahansa Yogananda or read autobiography of a yogi? Maybe, maybe not. But what he practiced was precisely the original Christianity that Master came to the West to restore. Did he know Swami Kriyananda or anything about EFL, Education for Life? I doubt it. But his principles and methods were intuitively in tune with both of these. What John Wooden brought to his players, and since then to literally hundreds of thousands of people in all walks of life, is a system of personal growth that he called the pyramid of success. It's an outline that touches on every aspect of life, and its foundation, at its foundation, are 7 points, the practice of which enable us to master every challenge that we encounter. Number 1, be true to yourself, to your higher self, that is. 2, help others. 3, make each day your masterpiece. 4, drink deeply of good books. 5, make friendship a fine art. 6, build shelter against a rainy day. And 7, pray for guidance and give thanks for all of your blessings. Let's look at these a little bit more closely. Be true to yourself. Which self is he referring to? Is it the one that describes us by name, nationality, education, career, and so on? Or is it the one that resides at the core of our being, that is our divinity? When being true to that higher divine self, we are true as well to every facet of our life, the life that we lead in the world. This may be a difficult practice to master, but what could be more important for us to work on? 2, help others. Yogananda described our path as one of meditation and service. These are not exclusive of each other. And Lahiri Mahashaya, the avatar on my far right, was a perfect example of how to combine the two. He served his family. He served his government office. He served his countless number of disciples with the same measure of devotion and dedication. His service was sadhana, and his sadhana was service. What he showed, and what John Wooden is showing us also, is that service is more than a useful activity. It's an act of nobility. When giving of yourself wholeheartedly to help others, the only thing greater than the satisfaction that you feel is the inner joy that comes with it. Number 3, make each day your masterpiece. Well, now there's a challenge. What about those days that start on the wrong side of the bed? We all know about those. That's when your masterpiece may need some careful editing along the way. But if you put your heart and your mind to it, your day can still be a work of art when it's over. Your attitude, consciousness, and energy will always be the true measure of whatever you do and whatever you do not accomplish. Point number 4, drink deeply of good books. At Ananda, we have hundreds of them to encourage, motivate, and inspire us. I find in every one of them, and I can turn to almost any page, and something on it will speak to me of what I especially needed to know at that time, or to remember, or to apply more lovingly in my life. It often takes me a long time to get through a book by Master or Swami or some of the other wonderful authors that we have at Ananda, because I'm apt to get carried into deep thought by just a sentence or two. Point number 5, make friendship a fine art. I love that. To me, that's what I can give of myself to make the best that it can be. Swamiji coined a phrase that became part of his signature at the end of the letters that he wrote, in divine friendship. That was how he regarded everyone, his dear friends and adversaries alike. Divine friendship is the art he practiced consummately throughout his extraordinary life. I wish I could say that I feel toward everyone as he did, but I do know that if I did, I would never be moody, petty, or selfish. Just having his example of friendship as my goal, inspiring me, is just inspiring in itself, for it truly is the epitome of fine art. Build shelter against a rainy day. He didn't mean focus on financial security, but build a foundation of spiritual strength, because that is the only shelter you will ever be able to rely on. These 5 gentlemen behind me have been trying to get that across to us ever since we first came to Ananda. Rest in God, live in God, in His light, in His love, in His joy. We chanted that this morning, and hopefully we took its message deep inside, for that is where true shelter resides. And finally, number 7, pray for guidance and give thanks for your blessings every day. When you do that with love and sincerity, God is there, Guru is there, guidance is there, and grace is there. The 4 G's: God, Guru, guidance, and grace. Will you always get what you pray for? No. But you will get what is best for you, though it may not look that way at the time. Sometimes the game is not ours to win, because a greater lesson needs to be learned. Trust in the wisdom of that. Give yourself to the learning and give thanks for the blessing of it, even if you don't quite understand it yet. Nothing that comes our way is for anything but our spiritual growth and our greater happiness ahead. John Wooden was a true Christian in the highest sense of that word. He lived it, he taught it, and he inspired in others what it's all about. Not so much from a religious point of view, but from what humanity could and should be. Inspiration. How do we keep it alive? In our Learn to Meditate course, after a couple weeks of practice, the last class is about how to carry that meditative attitude into our daily lives, essentially to where the rubber meets the road. Included are 25 how-to recommendations. And I'll close with a few of these because inspiration is at the very heart of them. Number one, remember who you really are. You're a child of God, a soul that happens to be having a human experience. It's not the other way around. You can make the most of that experience by resolving to keep your consciousness and energy uplifted. It's always a matter of choice, so why not choose to make it yours? 2, see the underlying lesson in whatever comes your way. Life is a school. Appreciate your challenges because they're what make you stronger. Don't be hard on yourself. That sends the wrong message to your subconscious mind. When something you've done doesn't work out, or even when you've made a mess of things, never tell yourself that you failed. You simply have not yet succeeded. And with that attitude instead, you will succeed much sooner. Do something creative every day. It doesn't have to be something big. It's just something you've never done before, perhaps. I tell my students in that class to interlace their fingers. Everyone do that. Interlace your fingers. And now if you've ever been in one of my classes, you know what's next because you probably interlace them that way all the time. So now, take and put the other index finger and thumb on top. I'll bet that feels a little strange. It's just funny how many habits we have that we don't even think about. And so, for the rest of this week, whenever you interlace your fingers, do it this way. You're actually creating a new groove in your brain and breaking an old habit, an old pattern. And then you can go back to the other way if it's more comfortable. And this last one, be acutely aware of your environment. Who do you spend your time with? What kind of music do you listen to? How much TV news do you ingest? If the impact of these has a downward pull on your emotional state, think about how to turn that around. Mix with positive people. Listen to uplifting music. And go on a news fast now and then, just as you would go on a healthy diet. You owe it to yourself, to your soul, to feed it with qualities that inspire you to be the best you can be. Let us take these cues from our gurus, from Swamiji, and from another great human being, John Wooden. May God bless us as we dare to be different, as we dare to be free. I'll close with a wonderful reading from Rays of the One Light by Paramahansa Yogananda. This is his poem, his prayer, 199, Endless Thrills of Delight. I attuned my life to thine. Now my life has become a long, unbroken inspiration. Thy fountain of bliss refreshes and delights me night and day, whether I be wakeful, fast asleep, or dreaming fondly of thee. Oh, what has become of me? Delight on overwhelming delight. Endless, indescribable thrills of divine delight spray unceasingly over me. O aged nectar, wine of centuries, I found thee at last, and will taste of thy sweetness forever, forever, forever. Let's just have a moment of silence. Perhaps reflect on this.
Our next song this morning is entitled God, 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 and it's adapted from Yogananda's poem, God, Christ, Guru. From the depths of slumber as I ascend the spiral stairway of wakefulness, I will whisper, whisper, God, God, God. Thou art the food, and when I break my fast of nightly separation from thee, I will taste thee and mentally say, God, God, God. No matter where I go, the spotlight of my mind will ever keep turning on thee. And in the battle din of activity, my silent war cry will be, God, God, God. When boisterous storms of trials shriek, and when worries howl at me, I will drown their noises, loudly chanting, God, God, God. When my mind weaves dreams, dreams, with threads of memories, on that magic cloth will I emboss, God, God, God. night in time of deepest sleep, when my peace dreams and calls joy, joy, my joy comes singing evermore. God, God, God. In waking, eating, working, dreaming, sleeping, serving, meditating, chanting, divinely loving, my soul will constantly hum, unheard by any. God, God, God. Please join me. God, God, God.
Here we are in September, and it's a big list of things happening. You can pick up one of these at the front desk if you'd like. Starting this week, we have our new Learn to Meditate class series starting on Tuesday. We now have 3 yoga offerings every week. Drop in, you don't have to pre-register. Wednesday evenings with Melissa, Saturday mornings with Lori, and on Thursday it's restorative yoga with Mayatri, which means you get to get propped up and sit in positions and allow your body to relax into every position, and it's really cool. So if you want to give that a try, come on Thursdays. We also later on the 7th, which is next Saturday, we have a Learn to Meditate workshop as an option as well, which is a one-time class from 10 to 1. So a reminder, if you've taken the classes, if you think, I know how to meditate, you might want to come back and just refresh and talk with other people and renew your practice and maybe learn some more pointers or share with others. So you're always welcome to come back to the classes for free. And please let anybody that you know of that might be interested in learning to meditate. We do that here. And we also have a new thing happening in September, a book study, the Asha's book about Swami Kriyananda, the light bearer. That is something a lot of people are picking up now and enjoying and studying. And there's an opportunity to do that together if you'd like. Santosh is going to be leading that on Wednesdays, just twice a month. So just like I said, check out all of this happening here. We had to make one correction. It says Ananda House Save a Day, and we changed it to the 21st, so it's a little out of order on there. But that's a great chance to go out to Ananda House, our elder care home, and join in the fun and help them out in all different kinds of ways. Again, if you have any questions, ask us, check our website, give us a call, and it's lovely having you here today. Thank you.